Old Fashioned Football on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, a sports betting research platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit HOFBets.com. Use code SGPN to get 50% off your first month and start making smarter bets today. We're also brought to you by Cut. Cut is a peer-to-peer social betting platform that's U.S.-based and available in 40 states. Head to cut.com, that's KUTT.com, and use promo code SGPN for a 10% deposit bonus. And we're also brought to you by the SGPN merch store, 50% off everything when you use the promo code PLAYOFFS. Don't forget to stay tuned and find out how to enter our contest.
Hey, what's up? This is Sam Acho, and you're listening to Old Fashioned Football.
Old Fashioned Football.
You make this deal right now, you pancake eating mother.
All right, deal.
Old Fashioned Football.
Welcome to Old Fashioned Football. If you're wondering who you're listening to, this is JMark. You can find me on the X at JMark Football. Before we keep going to talk about the 2023 Fantasy Football Recap, got to bring in my co-host on the pod and in life. You can find her on the X at the Mermark. By the way, you can find us at Old Fashioned FB. Woo! And yeah, Miranda, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Justin. Doing great.
Not to bury the lead here, but shout out to the chat. Karen says, "Where's my scotch?" We are doing our first scotch.
Yes.
Sorry it took so long, but we did get it. And sorry that we technically did not listen to your recommendations. We decided
we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
We'll get to that. All right, we'll get to that. How you doing today?
You already asked me this.
Yeah,
I said
but
I'm
you didn't
doing great.
elaborate much.
It's been a very long week. It's Wednesday, and Tuesday feels like a week ago. Monday feels like 2 weeks ago. That's the kind of week I'm having. January is like just the longest month of the year. It's dark before I'm off work. It's super cold. We don't really, because of the temperatures and the snow pounding, whatever.
The snow pounding
that we've been getting. We're not going anywhere. This last weekend was the first weekend we actually left our house, really.
It's actually the first time to the big city since last year.
Oh, jeez. And we're January 24th, and you can still crack those jokes, and I just can't handle it. Moving on. But it's just one of those months where it drags.
Yeah.
And you get a little bit of like the winter blues here because you don't leave. You made me step outside last night, and you're like, you really need to take Aspen out to go to the bathroom. And I was like,
because in Iowa, it's basically spring weather. It's 35 degrees. We went so long with sub-zero temps. So it was like, it's nice out. Let's get out there.
And you're like, you really need to get some fresh air. And we were talking about it. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know the last time I stepped outside since Saturday.
Right.
So yeah, I took the dog out last night.
Yes.
Breathe some fresh
Who let
fresh
the
air.
dogs out? You did.
I did.
You did. Of course, you know, if you're following football, which I assume you are, we are getting down to the last 4 teams.
Yes.
So there is that, which means our FFPC lineups.
Oh my gosh. The FFPC is like just a second, like, your second wind for fantasy football.
Yeah.
It's been fun. Our lineups are exciting. I don't, do you want to, should we talk about our standings? Because we went through our lineups. If you listen to us the past couple weeks for the FFPC, Justin, tell everybody what the FFPC is.
Yeah, so it's Fantasy Football Playoff Competition, FFPC, and basically you pick a player from each team. There's different lineups for round 1 and round 2, like different ways that the lineups work. Because round 2, you don't have defense or kickers, but you can only have one player per team, and obviously when they're out of the playoffs, they're out of your lineup. They don't get you any more points. In the first one, I did look this up. In round 1, there are 17,000 teams.
Okay, you did. And if we talked about it last week, you were at 13,000 and something.
And I'm like, well, you know what? At least I'm not at the end. And then I looked, and some of the teams at the end didn't fill their team out. They must have reserved a spot, but they never set their players.
Oh, so we don't really know
Sucks
how
to
close
suck.
to the end you are.
Right. Well, I'm not that close
No.
anymore.
But my
close.
lineup that I gave out on the show, I did submit it, and I am currently in 1096th place.
Yeah.
My fun tight end that got a lot of
Vomit
comments.
lineup.
Because it's a tight end premium. So tight ends get 1.5 points per reception.
Yes.
So, and then if you have a tight end in the Super Bowl, they get double that. So it'd be
Correct.
3 points. So anyway, I just threw a tight end premium lineup together, and it's actually in 5,338th place. So my actual lineup's doing a lot better. Justin, you are sitting at 8,254.
Turns out I tried to I warned people not to get too cute, and then I got a little too cute.
You got cute
with my lineup. Yeah.
Mhm.
I do have Lamar, CMC, Travis Kelce, and Amon-Ra St. Brown left. So I feel like those are good players to have left. But yeah, who are you rooting for to make the Super Bowl? Chiefs and Ravens face each other, and then Niners, Lions. Who? Don't say Lions, or we're gonna end the show early.
Well, you already know that I was going for the 49ers to make it.
Yes.
I wanted the Bills to be there. Obviously, they're not going to be. I didn't want to see the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I don't know why. I just don't want to see it. I feel like that's what America wants to see for Taylor Swift. The Swifties want to see it.
Yeah, for sure.
But I don't know. I don't want to see the Chiefs, but I don't know if I'm really like the Ravens. I don't know. What are your thoughts there?
I mean, they got a hell of a defense
You
this year.
predicted they would make it to the Super Bowl.
I did. Yeah, around week 14, I told everybody on the NFL Gambling Podcast, place a ticket on the Ravens to make the Super Bowl. And I have some Ravens versus 49ers tickets that'll pay nicely. I don't know, Lamar, as much as I doubted him, he's had an MVP season.
He has.
And he has never won a Super Bowl.
He's the player on that team.
Yeah, and he's never won a Super Bowl.
No, I
Their
guess.
defense is good. John Harbaugh is a good coach. Now, breaking news today, his brother, Jim Harbaugh, leaving Michigan, coming back to the NFL. He was the coach for the 49ers last, and he's going to be the coach of the Chargers. So it'll be interesting to see how that affects Justin Herbert and their whole system. He's known as being able to get maximum production out of his quarterbacks. So I think that means good things for Herbert fantasy football wise.
So I guess to answer your question, I am leaning more Ravens than Chiefs because I don't know. I was not happy with the Chiefs season either. Even though they're here, I've just been disappointed.
Right.
And fantasy wise, like just in fantasy football, they have disappointed me.
Right.
In so many ways. But
we're going to talk a little bit about that in quarterbacks.
We will.
Yeah.
So I guess it's a Niners Ravens Super Bowl that we're rooting for here.
That's I said on the NFL Gambling Pod, like that's what I'm rooting for, but I feel like for the Midwest, I should be rooting for Chiefs Lions because that would be big for the Midwest for two Midwest teams to make it. But I'm not. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry. Round 2.
I know. So
my team's doing a little better in round 2.
Did you look up how many people are in round 2?
5,000. So a lot
only
less
5,000.
Yes.
Okay. So if you missed last week and you only heard the first 2 weeks ago when we did the FFPC lineups, they came out with a round 2 where you could submit a lineup the second week of playoffs and forward.
Yes.
So only 8 teams. You pick one player. You have an 8-person roster. You pick one player from each team. I'm sitting at 1,237 and you're sitting at 1,421. So both of my lineups are doing better than yours in the FFPC. I don't think it's going to make it. I was sitting at 43.
You were at 42 at one
and I was
point.
like, oh my God, until the Sunday games.
Yeah, right. Yeah. After
it was exciting.
After Saturday, your round 2 lineup was sitting at 42nd, which is, I mean, that's still good.
It was exciting for just a look.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Now, to put a little clarity on this, though, the person in first place only has, I think, when I looked it up, like 21 more points than you. So really, it's not like you're far behind. It's all going to depend on who we have.
I just have to hope that they had players like in the teams that are out.
In round 2, everybody lost the same amount of players.
Yeah, but they're high scoring.
Yeah,
I
they're
don't
high
know. I
scoring
guess I
ones,
don't
right?
know.
Yeah.
It's a
Anyways,
tough competition for round 2 because most people, in my opinion, are picking the same players.
yeah,
in
it's
their
hard to get.
lineups.
I feel like it is probably hard to get some differentials there.
Mhm.
Real quick, I want to shout out to the chat. Juke is here. Says, "Cheers, got the beam on the rocks." Cheers, Juke. Karen says, "Is it at least a single malt?" We'll get to that, but it is. She did lose in the championship and the Super Bowl of their fantasy football, but she was the regular season champ.
Oh, nice.
And Nick chiming in, he has not seen us in person since last year.
It has
That's
been
true.
a minute. A lot of people have not seen us in person since last year.
True. So we're going to recap 2023. We were going to do all positions. You
Mhm.
said, whoa, hang on. This is going to take some time. Let's not do a 3-hour long podcast.
You wanted to cram. You showed me, here's an agenda, a proposed agenda. And I was like, this is going to be, we're not doing a 2-hour show.
Well, and we wanted to go into more detail of the whiskey.
Mhm.
That's something that we did towards the beginning. I wouldn't say it's gotten lost, but they've been a little more hurried because there's been so much fantasy football content. This is off season. This is the time to lean into the whiskey.
Mhm.
But speaking of fantasy football, any big takeaways from 2023 before we get started here?
I don't know. There's a lot that happened. A lot of surprising things. I have to say, going in, like when we were looking at where people ended, going into the season, there's a lot of people who are projected top 10 in their position, and it did not happen. A lot of people did not make that top 10 that we thought, and when you're strategizing for auction drafts, a lot of people spent a lot of money that really bit them in the ass.
This is true.
For drafting. Also, I lost the quarterback bet.
You did.
Didn't
I won the quarterback bet.
Wasn't I under?
Yes.
So 64 quarterbacks started in the 2022 season. And I said it would be under.
Yeah.
That
like
this year.
4 weeks left. You said under because
It's
we
gonna
were
be under.
sitting at like 10 away or something.
Yeah. 66 started this season. 66.
Winner.
So we'll have an over under for next season.
There you go. Winner, chicken dinner. Let's not make Karen wait any longer.
I know.
Let's let her know what we're drinking. But before you do, real quick, I don't mean to interrupt you.
You're going to interrupt me.
But you can't drink a scotch, I can't anyways, without thinking of this.
New York. Unique New York.
I love scotch. I love scotch. Scotchy, scotch, scotch. Here it goes down into my belly.
Scotchy, scotchy, scotch. Here it goes down. What are we drinking today?
We are drinking Tomatin Highland Scotch 12-year.
Is that how you say it? Tomatin?
Tomatin. Yeah.
I said it Tomatin.
Tomate. It's the long A.
Okay. Interesting.
Tomatin.
All right.
Tomatin. It's Tomatin Highland Scotch. It's their 12-year whiskey aged in ex-bourbon and ex-sherry casks. It's like, there's drama here. It's not, it was aged in bourbon. It's the ex-bourbon cask. There was a breakup. I just found this interesting. There's a lot of different ways that they present things on the bottles. Like they don't list a proof. They just list the alcohol percentage.
Different requirements.
Well, is it a requirement in America to list the proof?
Yeah, I believe so. For a bourbon,
well, like you always see, like the proof is just really big on there.
For a bourbon, you have to list the proof, I believe.
But so just real quick here, because I know Karen, I don't even know if this was officially on your list.
I don't believe
because
so,
this is what happens when I leave something like organizing and keeping track of things to my husband. You wrote down all the suggestions and you were keeping that list. We go to wall last weekend and I asked you, what are we looking for? And you're like, I don't have the list.
I completely forgot it. It's funny because we were getting ready to head out the door and I said I'm going to go into my office and grab the list, and I don't know if I came in here and forgot what I was doing.
Probably.
I'm not sure.
But we're in there and I was like, okay, so now we're standing in the scotch section and we're looking at all these scotches, and you can spend just like you can on whiskey, but there's a lot of high pricey scotches.
Yes.
I was like, we need to go. I don't want bottom shelf, but I don't want to spend this is our first time like drinking scotch.
Yeah.
I wanted middle here. And my eyes just landed on this and it said like it was finished in bourbon and sherry cask. And I was like, this just sounds like us. This is the good, like,
It's
let's dipping our toes
Yeah,
into the scotch that was finished in bourbon.
the Scotch waters, maybe a little taste of bourbon there.
But
By the way, you're in charge of Instagram comments, and I can see over there, just out of the corner of my eye, that we have a comment from Margie Thompson.
mhm.
Welcome.
Who do we think will win the Super Bowl?
Yeah, as much as I
So we think, well, we're rooting for the Ravens
and the
and the
Niners.
49ers.
Yep. As much as I'd like the Niners to win it, I'm going to say the Ravens.
Because Lamar hasn't gotten a ring. Neither has Purdy. I'm 49ers. We're going to be house divided.
All right.
I want,
if they even make it. I know that's upsetting.
They've just been
Our good
so
friend,
good.
Nick Fortune.
They've been so good this year, and I like the team this year. I'm rooting for the Niners.
So that's our picks. We're going to be divided if that's how it ends. We're going to talk about the fantasy football.
No, we got to go back. They have so many more talented players on the Niners than the Ravens.
I can see how you can make that argument, but there's a reason that the last time these teams played, the Ravens destroyed them. This year, they destroyed them.
What week was that?
13 or 14.
Okay, so
Nick would know. Nick's in the chat.
Nick,
He
let us
probably
know
knows.
what week the Ravens and the Niners played each other.
I've been replaced though. Nick says you're his new best friend. Before we keep going, now like I said, we're going to recap quarterbacks, running backs, and then we're going to do a history of the Scotch, review it, and all that stuff. But got to let you know that we're brought to you by PrizePicks. With the basketball season here, you can now pick combo projections across football and basketball from the Specials League. So maybe you want to take Travis Kelce plus, I'm trying to think of a basketball player to put him with. Let's say DeMar DeRozan at a 10.5 combo of 3 points plus receptions. You can do that now. PrizePicks even offers a reboot policy. That's one of my favorite things about them. If your player gets hurt in the first half and doesn't come back in the second half, that is rebooted. No more losing money there. PrizePicks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy. PrizePicks is a really simple way to play. It's based on fantasy projections. You can make your picks in 60 seconds or less. Plus, they offer weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value. Right now, they have a promo running. It's going to end soon, but Christian McCaffrey, more than half a rushing yard. I hope they are not jinxing him like they jinxed Aaron Rodgers and that he's going to snap something. That's not going to happen. I would also like Lamar Jackson more on his rushing yards. I think it was set at 49.5 right now. Hit more. Josh Allen just got done running all over the Chiefs. Lamar's going to do the same thing. Just go to prizepicks.com/SGPN and use code SGPN for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/SGPN, code SGPN. PrizePicks Daily Fantasy Sports made easy. All right. Sorry, I had to throw that in
I
there.
agree with you. Lamar is he is the runner on that team.
Yes, it was week 16 when the Ravens faced the Niners.
Okay. And then another comment from the Insta. Margie says, sorry, Justin. Paul agrees with Miranda.
You know what? Sometimes you got to stand alone to prove you can stand.
Oh my gosh. Okay, moving on.
Not to be dramatic or anything. Should we talk about quarterbacks?
Let's break
start
this down.
recapping
Top 12 here.
Now, I had some stuff kind of typed out, and you were like, I want to do this differently. And I was like, okay, you the boss. So why don't you take the lead here and I will follow.
Okay, so we're going to break down the top. We're going to do a recap of the top 12 quarterbacks who finished for fantasy for 2023. And if you were with us preseason, you know that we talked about the preseason rankings, but we also brought our own rankings to the table of where we thought players would finish. So we're going to kind of
just to
compare that.
To twist that a little bit, that was based off of auction values. So it was like, do I think Patrick Mahomes is the number one quarterback at, what was he, $47?
47.
Yeah, at $47. Not if it's a $200 budget and I have to spend a fourth of my budget on Patrick Mahomes. We saw how that worked in the listener league. It didn't. So that's kind of how we attacked our rankings. So they are a little different because we do specialize on the auction right now. But anyway, I just wanted to throw that in there. So when people hear my rankings.
And I
they don't
think
think I'm
going
too
into
crazy.
next season, we really need to sit down because I didn't necessarily agree with your way of ranking.
That's all right. We're
So there is that.
he said Nick says according to Murr, he was worth $65. That was Travis Kelce. Yeah.
That was.
Anyways,
he did finish as tight end too.
three in half
three
PPR.
in half PPR. So
Get it
still, he's still top. Only the top
Let's-
4
Let's
tight
not
ends are
join
relevant.
the fake news.
Fake news.
Yeah, media. here.
Okay. So number 1 quarterback for the 2023 season for fantasy was Josh Allen, who finished with 410.6 points. Now, preseason, he was ranked second and he had a $40 auction value and was only projected to get 362.8. We were comparing preseason, we were comparing the 2022 like what
Where
they finished as
yeah.
versus what they projected, and people really I think we saw the top 10 really outperform where they were projected.
Yes. Yeah.
So anyway, brought in that 410.6 points. Justin, where did you have him ranked preseason?
Yeah. Regrettably, I ranked him 9th because of his price. I will stand by that. I won't spend more than $35 max on a quarterback.
Mhm.
I just can't do it. I think running back, wide receiver is a much more crucial position.
Except when your
non-superflex.
quarterback out projects his season projection by 50 points.
Right. Yeah, that is true. That is true. He almost led the league in touchdowns and interceptions. Those are the interception thing is probably why I kind of ranked him lower at $40 as well. But where did you rank him?
I had him at 3rd, so I wasn't too far off.
No.
And I would have paid his
40.
Yeah, for Josh Allen.
Ah. I mean, as much as I want him on there, I just
Mhm.
I can't spend that kind of money.
So coming in at number 2, Jalen Hurts finished the season with 371.8 points, and preseason he was ranked 3rd.
Yeah.
Coming into the season, his auction value was $34, and he was projected to get 353.4 points for the season. So
it's pretty close.
he finished above. He still finished about 20 points above.
Yeah.
Justin, you had him ranked 3rd
Yes.
and said you would spend the money on him.
Yeah. Rushing quarterbacks. I mean, Josh Allen, I know, is a rushing
Mhm.
quarterback too. Just 40, I guess, was my breaking point. But yes, Jalen Hurts, I thought he was going to have a bigger year than he did this year. I actually am fading him going forward.
Mhm.
But just a gut feeling I have, I guess.
And I actually had him ranked 2nd. So he finished where I projected
Right
him
on.
to do.
Nail on the head.
This next one we were both way off on. Dak Prescott.
There's a reason. I mean, we're part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, which is known for being a Dallas Cowboy hating
Mhm.
organization. Sorry, Serial. So we kind of faded Prescott
Mhm.
more than we should have. But I don't think he's that good.
Well,
I
in
still don't.
preseason, he wasn't even ranked top 10. Okay. So there's that.
He was 11th, right?
Yes, he was
Yeah.
11th, valued at $10, projected to get 299.4 points. He finished 3rd with 351.8 points, fantasy points.
Now that
We
would've-
didn't have him in our rankings at all. And I think we only did a top 10. So we're breaking it down by 12. Most leagues do fill up with the 12.
Yeah, we're gonna do 12 going forward.
Historically, we've been in a lot of 10-person leagues, which I feel like it's a very different dynamic.
It is, yeah.
Um,
We're graduating.
We are. The more leagues we get into, the more 12-man leagues we're in, and that's
Yes.
where the competition is.
Speaking of leagues, just real quick, Cody Zeeb checking in said, by the way, who won the listener league? I believe it was Cody Zeeb.
Yes, congrats, Cody.
Keeper's Heart
Rubbing
sent
that
him
in.
not only the bottle that they promised,
but a nice hat. Yeah.
And speaking of Keeper's Heart, real quick, I'm going to derail us just for a little bit
Mhm.
longer. Tomorrow is National Irish Coffee Day. So make sure you have some Irish coffee. We're going to have some coffee with some Pamel Park coffee, which is local to us, with some Keeper's Heart whiskey. Check out the socials because we'll post a photo and all that good
Mhm.
stuff. Anyways, number 4, which was somebody that I faded hardcore. I didn't even think they were going to play because they were in like a little bit of a dispute.
I know you had those feelings, but he is just the rushing quarterback that he is. I've thought he had too much value not to be in the top 10. He finished 4th, with 338.2 points on the season. His preseason ranking was 5, so he finished above his preseason ranking.
Yeah.
He was valued at 31. The fact that he finished higher, he actually, this is the weird thing. He was projected 346.7. He did finish below that projection. But when you think about the fact that he finished 4th when he was projected 5 at that point, like that tells you there's a really big gap in points here with these top 10 quarterbacks.
Yeah. Yep. So I didn't have him ranked in my top 10. I wasn't going to
At
spend
all.
money because of the potential holdout, the injury history. I didn't think he could stay healthy, and he proved me wrong. So I will admit that I was wrong on it.
And I had him at 6th.
Yeah.
I did have him ranked 6th.
Which is pretty close.
It is.
The next two, if you don't mind me taking over, we didn't
No.
rank at all.
No, we did not.
So 5th in fantasy football, Jordan Love. Finished with 330.1. He had a preseason ranking of 21. Would only cost you, the average auction value was $1. And he was projected, 70 points? Am I doing my math right? Almost 70 points less than that at 265.5. Neither of us ranked. And we didn't rank Mr. Irrelevant. Number 6, Brock Purdy, finished with 306.6.
Preseason, he was projected outside of the top 25.
Well, I guess part of the problem is we did it early enough that we weren't sure he was going to play.
Yes, because there was that whole
shoulder thing. There was all this controvery on he's going to miss a whole season. Elbow, yeah.
Elbow.
Sorry.
Let's get this right.
They don't want to join the fake news media. No, like there was all that controversy on, well, he's not even going to be able to play this year and stuff. And obviously he did, and he played well.
Yeah.
So we missed on that one. It happens.
We did, but I'm happy he played. I wanted him to.
Yeah.
There was a lot of uncertainty during the preseason with him.
Yeah.
So he was number 6. Number 7, Jared Goff with 303.1 points. Preseason, he was ranked 20th, valued at $1. So if you snagged him or had him contracted, hopefully for a low dollar amount based on, his value at the preseason. But he was also projected 266.6 points. He came in 37 points higher.
Yeah,
Did I do
and
the
now
math right?
playing
I
in
don't
the-
think I did that right.
Playing in the NFC Championship. You were close. It's 39,
Okay.
but close enough.
No, it's not. It's not 39. You can't do math either.
Neither of us ranked him. You go ahead and get the calculator out. It's pretty close to 39. But neither of us ranked him, and just didn't think he was going to do much, I guess. By the way, I forgot, while you're looking this up, and we're on Jared Goff, who replaced Matt Stafford, the Georgia Bulldog. Sad news yesterday, I guess, last night. And Margie Thompson being on the Insta made me think of it. The Georgia Bulldog, Uga, passed away last night. So sad news. 36.5.
So I was right. 37.
What did I say? 39?
You said 39. My math was correct. Sorry, not to take away from the sad news.
You did this minus this?
Yes.
All right. Let's talk about number 8 while I check your math.
You're going to check my math? What is wrong with you? Okay. Number 8, I did not see this happening. And just goes to show like how disappointing I was in the Chiefs season for fantasy football. Patrick Mahomes came in at 8th with 294.2 fantasy points. Preseason, his ranking was number 1. He was valued at 47, which really bit us in the ass on our listener league, which we did not do a good job of co-owning a team together.
You know why, though? Because I listen to you.
Well, because no.
Yeah.
No.
I believe I said stop betting on Travis Kelce. You did not stop. You said we're getting him.
Well,
I believe I
yes.
said don't spend that much on Patrick Mahomes.
I just wanted
You
to
said we're
stack.
doing it.
If Patrick Mahomes finished as the number 1 quarterback, we would have been much better in that league.
Where
than
did
we
you
were.
project him to finish?
I projected him 4th.
He finished 8th.
He finished 8th.
I projected him 8th.
And he got brought in 80 points less than his projection.
Yes. I thought they were going to struggle. I know I had faded him the last year too, because of receiving options, but I said that it's going to catch up to him. He can't keep doing that well with basically only Travis Kelce to throw to. So, yeah, I'm happy to say I was right on this one. Not happy for our fantasy football team that we were co-managing, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens next year. We'll get more into that in the wide receiver tight end episode, but what does Patrick Mahomes look like if there's no Travis Kelce? That's going to be interesting.
It is. Well, there will be a lot less distraction at the
Possibly.
stadium.
I don't know.
In the locker
his
room.
brother is a distraction too, though. Jackson Mahomes. They had to ask him for a while not to come to games. So
there's too many distractions for the Chiefs. Anyway, number 9, the 9th ranked quarterback, was Tua Tagovailoa. He brought in 284.4 fantasy points. His preseason ranking was 12. He was valued at $10 and was projected 296. So we're starting to see like towards the back end of this top 10, which is why I'm saying there's a vast difference in points.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the top 10 or 12 to the end, because he was projected 12. He got 9th, but finished well under his projection. We didn't have him ranked.
no.
And I was
a
so
health concern.
Yes, I was so hesitant because if he got another concussion, it was probably season ending, like possibly career ending for him.
Agreed.
I am so happy he stayed healthy and had such a good season, but it was too risky. In my opinion, the injury and the concussion risks were just too much for me to say he was going to finish top 10.
I agree. We're going to get to the rest of them in just a second. Thought we would get to running backs before this, but I want to tell you about Cut. Cut is a peer-to-peer social betting platform that's U.S. based and available in 40 states. It's a peer-to-peer betting. So basically, if you can bet it or there's a justifiable outcome, you can make wagers against your friends on it. Plus, you know what? We've all been there. You make a bet with somebody, they keep not paying. You feel like you need to cut them before they will actually pay. Well, that's okay. Cut takes care of all that. They handle the payment side of things, so you never have to chase anybody down. There's no risk of breaking kneecaps or getting your own broke. And plus, they get group chats, betting leaderboards, head-to-head history, user profiles, fan groups, and more. Get rewards back or cash back every single time you bet against your friends or other users. It is the peer-to-peer social betting platform that's U.S.-based and legal in 40 states. Head to cut.com, that's KUTT.com, and use promo code SGPN for a 10% deposit bonus.
We're also brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets. The NFL season's not over yet, and you can win bigger by betting smarter with Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting analytics platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Research every NFL, NBA, and soccer bet with historical stats and data. Enter any parlay idea into Hall of Fame Bet's revolutionary parlay optimizer tool to get hit rates broken down by leg, as well as an expected probability for the entire parlay. Sort all players by hit rate for any bet to learn which players are hot and which picks have value.
Stop betting in the dark and join over 30,000 users researching with Hall of Fame Bets to craft more intelligent, data-driven parlays. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit HOFBets.com and use code SGPN to get 50% off your first month today. Start researching, start winning with Hall of Fame Bets. We also got to let you know about the SGPN merch store. 15% off everything in the store now till the end of the month. Promo code PLAYOFFS. Plus, we're in a competition with the other shows to sell more merch than them. So you can see some of our merch on the screen right now. We got hats, we got hoodies, we got t-shirts. We do have beer glasses too, which I don't have on the here, but they're cool looking too. Now, here's the deal. If you buy an item from now until the end of January, all you got to do is screenshot that you bought the item or items, because every item you buy gets you put into a drawing for a $50 merch store gift card or a $50 Ace Spirits gift card to get whatever booze you want, or a $50 bottle of whiskey. Now, if we win the competition, we are doubling
that prize. So you could win a $100 gift card to the merch store, a $100 Ace Spirits gift card. Get yourself 2 bottles of whiskey from him at Ace Spirits, or we'll send you 2 bottles of whiskey. And
just a $100 bottle of whiskey, not 2 bottles.
Well, there's that. Yeah, maybe we up it. Sorry, I'm just going with the double here. But don't forget to use code PLAYOFFS to get your 15% off, and then send us that screenshot so we can enter you into the drawing that will be done at the end of the month.
Playoffs, and you can see on the screen there, sg.pn/store. Okay, let's finish up with these quarterbacks.
All right, we've
we're
got
talking
3
longer
left.
quarterbacks than I was thinking,
I
but it
told
happens.
you.
There's a lot to
I
talk
told
about.
you we could not fit all 4. We
Holy
couldn't
cow,
do
if
it
we were
all.
trying to get through wide receivers and tight ends.
I told you were off. You were way off.
I'm sorry, honey.
All right.
You were right.
I know.
By the way, shout out to the chat, the parentals, late to the party, but checking in now, and so sad about the Bulldog passing.
Mhm.
Agree. Poor Uga. He had a good life,
Yes.
though. I think he was very pampered.
He was a special pup.
The goodest of boys. Anyways,
All right.
number 10.
Coming in at number 10, Baker Mayfield brought in 284.1 fantasy points. Preseason ranking, he was outside of the top 25. He was valued at $1. So if you picked him up, you got yourself a top 10 quarterback this season. Neither you nor I had him ranked in our top 10 preseason.
No, he was in my sleepers that I talked about because I said Baker's feisty. Baker did play well for the Rams on very short notice. Like, he came in and won a game for him in just 4 days, I think, with the playbook. He's a decent player, and this was going to be the best receiving core that he had been playing with. So I had him as like, hey, you want $1 backup quarterback? Take Baker. That was one of the recommendations we gave out. So, so I will say that, but no, there was no way I was putting him in top 10. I don't think anybody predicted that.
No, this next guy, I definitely targeted him in every league that I could, but I didn't have him projected to be a top 10, top 12 quarterback this season.
Right.
CJ Stroud came in at 11 with 280 fantasy points this season. His preseason ranking was 25, valued at $1. If you got him for $1, I don't think, being a rookie quarterback, I don't think that a lot of people got him for that $1 that he was valued at, but you probably got him pretty cheap. And if you're in these keeper leagues, contract leagues, dynasty, that's a great value.
Yeah. And we both gave him out in the preseason of somebody to kind of we did an episode of people to pick up before waiver wires is even a thing, really. I mean, before week 1, somebody that has potential. CJ Stroud was the quarterback we gave out because we knew the Texans were building around him. They were committed to he was the starter. They were going to give him every weapon they could. And it was more of a future play, but it paid off.
And not only did he finish in the top 12 for quarterbacks, but he took him to the playoffs.
Yeah. Playoffs. And won a playoff game.
Yes. All right. This next guy coming in at 12, our last quarterback we're going to talk about today, Sam Howell, finished the season with 277.5 fantasy points. His preseason ranking was outside the top 25, so he was valued at $1. We did not have him ranked. Early on in the season, he was somebody who just... We talked about him in the waivers.
Yeah, I have some stats on that in a little bit here, but yeah, we definitely talked about him in the waivers. Did not expect he would finish that way preseason anyways.
No.
Now, let's talk about some players that were in the top 10.
They were ranked top 10 preseason going into the season. Now, there's a lot of people in this top 12 that we didn't predict were going to be in the top 12. A lot of that has to do with injuries. There are people that were projected to end top 10 that didn't. You've got, this one, there's not really a injury reason behind this, but Justin Fields.
Excuse me, he missed 3 games with Special Agent Bajent taking
I guess
over.
There's that. I guess I'm thinking more significantly for some of these others, but Justin Fields preseason was ranked 6th for quarterbacks. He was valued at $28, projected to bring in 339.7 fantasy points this season.
Yeah.
I don't have his ending ranking.
It was lower than that.
It was.
And he was number 1 on your list.
And
number 3 on mine, I believe.
thought he was going to have just a blowout season.
Yeah.
It didn't happen. We didn't use him correctly to start. We weren't using him.
Yeah, and now is he even going to be the Chicago Bears quarterback? There's a lot going on there.
I will have such a problem with that because he's so talented. He's exciting when we let him run, when we let him do his thing.
Just start wrapping your head around the fact that Caleb Williams may be the quarterback of the Chicago Bears. He's an exciting player too. I don't like his ego. I don't like his attitude.
I'm not wrapping my head around it. I don't want to do it. All right. Joe Burrow was ranked 7 going into the season. He
injured.
Yeah.
I mean,
how does
derailed the whole season for him and the Bengals. Justin Herbert, another one that got injured. We just talked about Jim Harbaugh is going to come in and potentially kind of turn that around. I mean, there's no reason that team shouldn't be more successful with the talent they've had, starting with Herbert. Deshaun Watson, he was ranked 9th preseason. Everybody that listened knows I was out on him, but I think you were too. I don't think you had much hype with Watson.
And Trevor Lawrence. So it's interesting. The
Sunshine.
6th through 10th ranked quarterbacks going into the season did not finish in the top 12.
Yeah. Yeah. And Trevor Lawrence didn't really, he missed one game with an injury, just didn't have a lot of good games. He fought through injury. He played with injury in games that I don't think he should have played because he looked bad. Another player that I was big on, Russ Wilson.
You had him in your top 10 list going into the season.
I did.
You also had Dan Jones.
Dan Jones was my number one.
And Gino.
Because Dan Jones is, people don't think of him, but he's a rushing quarterback. He can run the ball. He finished 5th in 2022 in rushing yards. And I just thought they were going to get better with Darren Waller, Jalen Hyatt. It just didn't happen. And then, I mean, he got injured, but he didn't look that great before that. So
yeah, I also had
misplaced faith.
Kirk Cousins. He's the only one we haven't talked about that I had in the top 10.
Yeah. I did listen back to that episode today, just as we were grabbing some data, and man, you argued with the fact that I put Mahomes at 8th, by the way. So,
well, he finished in the middle of each of our projections.
He finished 8th.
Oh, wait, no, he didn't. Who finished 4th?
You projected him.
Oh,
4th.
I projected him 4th.
Yes.
Never mind.
Karen pointing out that Jamar Chase was impacted too by Joe Burrow's injury. Very true. Mom saying she wants Fields. She has spoken. So, yeah,
yes.
I don't know. It's going to be tough. As Bears fans, we got a lot to think about.
So now there were some injuries there and, people that we thought for sure would finish in the top 10 that didn't. Yeah. The surprises are Jordan Love. I don't think anybody thought he was going to have the season he had. It's a little like, can we just let them have a shit quarterback for a second?
Yes,
that's
right?
just what I want.
As a Bears fan, it's annoying.
Because we have gone through quarterback after quarterback on the Bears. We have a very talented quarterback and we're not utilizing him to his full potential. We're just not.
Yeah.
And they get Jordan Love in there. They're supposed to have a really bad season and they're in the playoffs with him. And he finishes as number 5.
Yeah. Other surprises, Mahomes at 8, of course, that surprises a lot of people. Baker at 10, Stroud at 11, and Howell at 12. Just thinking about players that aren't going to be in there, it's tough for me to see Baker being back in there. He had a great season. I just don't see him having that with
a repeat top 12.
Yeah.
Season.
No, it all depends on injuries, but you can't tell me when everybody's healthy that he's going to outscore Joe Burrow, outscore Justin Herbert. He's not going to outscore those guys. And Sam Howell likely won't even be a starter, so he's not going to be in your top 12. It'll be interesting to see how that shakes up.
Stroud, I see him staying top 10. He's going to be relevant.
I think he'll elevate, with another year in the system, another year of building around him and everything. Yeah, I agree with that. Speaking of Stroud, like I said, we said pick him up in the preseason, but week 1, when he was rostered in 29% of leagues, we said on our waiver show, go pick him up. Week 2, somehow people
dropped him.
You did the opposite of what we said. People
so he was
dropped
only
him.
rostered in 25% of leagues.
And then
again,
3,
we said pick him up. And week 3, he was rostered even lower in 24% of leagues. And we said go pick him up.
Yes. So hopefully you were one of the small percentage that listened to us, because that has paid off. Same with Dobbs. I know Dobbs didn't finish high, but he had some really good weeks and in week 5, 21% rostered. We said, go get him. Then he goes to the Vikings and had some great games before having bad games. He ended up getting benched, but week 10, he was rostered in less. We said it. And then Howell was rostered in 22% of leagues in week 3. We said, go get him. In week 6, he was still proving himself, but rostered in less. We said, go get him. He finished top 12. There was no reason for him not to be on
I think people
rosters.
just didn't anticipate him to continue to do well.
Right.
We see that where sometimes it's a fluke, but it wasn't for him. He had a good season.
Yep. Should we fly through the running backs a little quicker?
Let's try, Justin.
Right.
Let's try. Top 12 running backs. This first one, I think it's obvious. Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
He finished the season with 357.8 points. He was projected to finish first among running backs. He was valued at $65, projected 272.8. So he way went over his projection for the season.
Yeah, he did. I had him at 5th. $65 seemed like a lot for a guy that
Not for
had
CMC.
injuries, but
The Niners are
Well,
utilizing him correctly.
they are. But is it possible that maybe the CMC injury history has been played up too much? I was looking into this. Out of 116 potential games, he's played 96. That's not a guy with a bad injury history.
No, but for
Like-
a minute there, when he was with the Panthers, he had some issues.
Yeah, he did 2 years in a row. Agreed. But I think just because of those 2 years, we were really quick to
Mhm.
dive into, well, he's just an injury prone back. And I don't think that's the case. I think we have to get rid of that that kind of narrative when we're thinking about it going forward. I do anyways. This is
Mhm.
one of the reasons I was like $65 on a guy that could get injured. They can all get injured. What really stands out to me, because we'll wrap some surprises in this. Raheem Mostert was number 2.
Mm-hmm.
CMC outscored him by 100 points.
So do you think
102.
that $65 was worth it to spend on him
Hell
then?
yeah.
Exactly.
$75 probably was 100 points.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable.
So yeah, to get a second ranked, which should be like your tier 1, tier 2, running backs. The second ranked running back in the league finished with more than 100 points less than CMC.
Yeah. Yeah. Incredible.
That if you had CMC, I had him in one league. It was my first year getting him. I was
Mhm.
so excited. And yes, it pays off.
Yeah, it does. Like I said, number 2 was Raheem Mostert. Nobody expected that. He was projected 38th. He was going for $1. He finished 255.2 points.
Mhm.
Incredible season with the Dolphins, obviously. Had some really big games. Neither one of us ranked him.
No, we did not.
I was actually surprised to see this next guy that we didn't rank him.
I know, and I still don't view him as a top 10. He came in at number 3, Travis Etienne.
Yeah.
Brought in 253.4 fantasy points. Going into the season, he was ranked 13th. He was valued at $33, projected to get 202.9. So he brought in 50 points higher than his projection going into the season. And still seeing the stats, looking at the data, I still don't view him as a top 10 running back.
So I remember the beginning of the season, or I guess in the draft, they drafted, I can't remember if it was a 3rd or 4th round, but they
Mhm.
took Tank Bigsby. And I thought there's a reason they did that. And so
Mhm.
I didn't think he was going to have the year he did, but I don't know. Etienne's a really good player. He came out of Clemson as a good player. I don't know why we faded him so much. I don't know why I faded him. You're still fading him, and that's
I'm
okay.
still fading him when I'm looking at the data.
Speaking of
So-
fading, you faded this next guy too.
I did. He was not in my top 10. Breece Hall finished the season as RB4, brought in 252.5 fantasy points. These guys, so Raheem Mostert, Travis Etienne, and Breece Hall, they all finished within just a couple points of each other. Mostert at 255, Etienne 253, Breece Hall 252. It's very close finish here for the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, who are all over 100 points under CMC.
If this was Kramer and Sean's show, this is where I would give one of those like hearty Kramer laughs at you, because I listened to this episode, the one where we did our projections today.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that Breece Hall was not in your top 10 is because you were too worried about Dalvin Cook landing with the Jets and taking too much of his.
I think Dalvin Cook quickly left like any relevancy in fantasy right away early in the season. Like it was just he's done.
I was listening to that. I was like, oh man, she's gonna not like this. So this is where
No,
like
He
that
was cooked pretty quickly.
Kramer does that. Yeah, that big laugh. This is where you would get a big laugh. I would laugh at you, but I'm nicer than that. So not
No.
saying you're mean, Kramer.
All right. Number 5. This, I know you're going to give me so much shit for this one too. Joe Mixon finished as the 5th running back, bring in 241 points. He was ranked preseason as 17th. and was only projected 192 for the season. You had him ranked 6th. He was not in my top 10.
No.
Moving
and you
on.
argued me about him being in my top 10 and being
Mhm.
6th. You said he was a RB2 at best. So 13th or worst. Or as we were doing it, I guess 11th to 20th because we only did top 10.
Yeah.
And yeah, you argued about that. And I guess I was closer to right.
You
You'll
were.
have to take the L on that one.
I will.
I'll take the L on this one because even during the middle of the season, I was so
and
out
I
on this
disagreed
guy.
with you. Like
did.
he wasn't in our projections, but Kyron Williams brought in 239 points.
Yeah.
0.0. I was ready to say point something, but it's 0.0. He was outside the top 40, rookie, valued at $1.
Well, he started racking up points having 2 touchdown games. And I stuck to the fact that this guy's not going to keep having 2 touchdown games. But he did. He stayed relevant. He
Mhm.
ran for a lot of yards. I was wrong.
Yeah.
I'll admit it.
And we even talked about him on the waivers because I don't know that he was drafted in a lot of leagues. Didn't we
He was
talk
not.
about him?
He
But
was
you
out
didn't.
in a
I
lot.
talked about him.
You
You
did.
didn't agree with me.
No.
All right. Number 7, Rashad White. Brought in 235.9 points. Preseason ranked 24th and projected to bring in 172.1.
This is the
Neither of us had him.
No, this is the weirdest thing about fantasy football. Like, you can know a lot about football in the NFL, doesn't mean you know a lot about fantasy football because the Bucks were last in the league in rushing yards per game. So you would think Rashad White would suck. You would think he would not be a top 10 running back. But because of his ability to catch the ball and to get some goal line scores, he pops into the top 10. Like, I don't know. It almost seems fluky to me.
Mm-hmm.
But he does have good pass catching ability that helps him in a half PPR, which
And
is what these
Bucks
rankings
did
are based
well.
off.
They had a good season.
Yeah. So I don't know if I can rank him there again. I don't know if
I
I
don't
can rank
see
him
no.
in the top 10 again.
I think this is
player,
an
but-
appearance and it's a fade.
Yeah. Speaking of appearance and fading, this guy's been appearing in the top 10 for a long time, but I think it's the time to fade him.
I don't know. We'll
We
see
don't
what
know where he's gonna
happens. We'll
be.
see where he goes. He's
Yeah.
going somewhere. He's not done. Coming in at 8th, Derrick Henry brought in 232.7 points. He was projected 5th going into the season, valued at $48 in auction leagues. Projected to bring in, he brought in very close to his projection. He was projected 236.4 points going into the season.
Yes.
You had him ranked 2nd. I had him ranked 3rd. He finishes 8th.
Yeah.
You actually said he was worth more than his 48.
It was the first time in years we saw him under 50. So my point was anything under 50, even if it's 49, $1 more, that I think he's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
The hindsight, seeing that he finished 8th, I don't know if he was worth that 50. That's really hard to gauge, but yeah, this could be the end of the road for him though, as far as being in the top 10, because he likely won't be with Tennessee again. Tennessee is a very run heavy team. So he would have to land with a team that's as run heavy
Mm-hmm.
and be utilized as their RB1 and not be in a timeshare. And I don't see any world where Derrick Henry is not in a timeshare, at least to some degree. I mean, he was in a timeshare to some degree this year with Spears, and the end of the season a lot more. And I just think that's Henry's future. I think RB2 at best, so just kind of what I think.
Yeah.
We got a couple rookies next.
We do. And we had a big debate on these guys.
We did.
We debated a lot with other people. Coming in at number 9, Bijan Robinson. He brought in 217.3 points. He was projected 7th. And I didn't agree with this projection at all.
Right.
I had him in my top 10 as number 10.
I did not.
No, you didn't even have him in your top 10.
No.
But yeah, he was projected 7th to finish with 230.1 points. I thought he was way overhyped, but
Yeah.
I did think he was talented. I thought this next guy who came in at number 10 was going to outperform him.
Yeah,
You
he was
didn't.
Also off my list.
He was also off your list, Jahmyr Gibbs. So I like that they finished
9 and 10.
neck and neck too, because Bijan Robinson finished with 217.3 points. Jahmyr Gibbs finished with 216.1.
Yeah.
So just a point
Now,
away.
Next season, now Arthur Smith was the head coach of the Falcons. He's an idiot, in my opinion. No offense to Arthur Smith, but he doesn't utilize his talent. We saw that happen with Kyle Pitts.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, next year, Bijan Robinson as a top 5, Jahmyr Gibbs is still 10 to 12. So just my opinion. But yeah, you were high on Gibbs. I was not.
Yes.
He, in standard scoring, he did not finish anywhere close to this. It was his pass catching ability that helped him. Standard scoring, Montgomery outplayed him, which is what I thought would happen. But half PPR and PPR leagues, that wasn't the case.
All right, let's get these last two out of here. Coming in at number 11, James Cook brought in 210.7 fantasy points. He was ranked 29th going into the season. Saquon Barkley at number 12 brought in
number one.
He was your number 1 above CMC. He brought in
Oh, we're gonna do some more math here.
Well, he brought in 155 points less than CMC.
But didn't cost as much.
No, he didn't. Well, no. So CMC 65, he was valued at 47. So if you spent that 47 on Saquon Barkley, you really messed yourself up here because he did not get a top 10.
Agreed.
202.7 points. He was projected 234.5 going into the season as the 6th ranked running back.
You know what, though? My first running back on my list made the top 12 here. So at least I could say that.
I know. I was stupid. Okay, so I did.
You weren't stupid. You took the number 1 running back from 2022 and placed him as number 1. If
I thought he was going to do
not
better.
stupid.
Eckler. I thought Eckler was going to finish number 1, that he's going to finish on top.
He didn't. Spoiler.
And no, he was ranked 2nd going into the season. CMC was number 1.
No, ranks, but in 2022, he finished as first. Yeah.
So there's that story. Nick Chubb did not even make an appearance, but he had the injury. Jonathan Taylor,
3rd or 4th week,
was not in the top 10. Josh Jacobs, this one, because we've argued about Josh Jacobs so many times. Do you know where he finished?
No.
I don't either, but he is outside the top 12.
I think it was 19th, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I had him at 4th. He was 8th going in.
I had him tied at 10th with Jonathan Taylor because I didn't know if either of those guys were going to play. But if they did, I couldn't leave them outside the top 10. But I remember giving you shit when you said Josh Jacobs was your 4 because I said the guy that's not even going to play. I said I just like that too because it was my thought that he wasn't going to play.
I knew he was going to play.
He did. Same with JT. Jonathan Taylor played.
But yeah, Tony Pollard was ranked 9th going into the season. We had him in our top 10. He didn't finish in the top 12. Ramondre Stevenson and Najee Harris were also like 10th and
I didn't have Ramo in. You did. You had him 9th, I believe.
Neither of us had Najee.
No, we both had Pollard.
It's a good thing because he did not finish in the top 12.
Yeah. I did have on my list Miles Sanders, who was projected to go for $23. I ranked him 7th. And
where did he finish?
Terrible. I don't know what happened. He was supposed to be the guy for the Panthers, and then Chuba Hubbard took over. And I don't know. It was just. It was
you
gross.
Had me like almost convinced too about Miles Sanders, so I was a little higher on him going in. I didn't have him in my list.
I don't even want to say like in one league how long I have him contracted because I got him for $1, and so I contracted him, and yeah, it's bad.
All right, Justin.
Real quick, 2024.
Do you think CMC is going to keep the lead? I don't see him regressing. Honestly. He is a beast.
Will he keep that big of a lead? I don't know, but
I still see him being up there. You've got 100 points between him and the next.
So you have him finishing first if no injury to him. He's first.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Bet. Yeah. Bet.
Okay, that's a bet.
I'm saying not first. I think Mostert's going to have some natural regression, so I don't think he'll be second again. Bijan, I already said top 5.
What about Jahmyr Gibbs?
Jahmyr Gibbs, I think he can be top 12
Mhm.
for sure. I don't see him necessarily creeping up though. He's not Bajan level to me. But I guess we'll see. It also depends,
Mhm.
like, will Monty still be there? Will they still share the same workload? Things like that. Other big questions, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry. We already spoke about Derrick Henry, but they're both free agents.
Mhm.
So that's going to be interesting to see
We're
how
gonna
that.
be tracking that all
Yeah.
off season, where they're gonna go
Yeah.
and see what happens there.
And just guys that we told you go pick them up. Gus Edwards, week 1, he was 19% rostered. He didn't win you a lot of weeks, but he was solid. He was
Mhm.
solid. He finished 20th. Week 3 and 4, both of those we said grab Devon Chan, 12% rostered at the time. I know my dad did, and
The next week was his
his highest
yes.
scoring. He ended up grabbing Puka and Devon from
Oh,
listening to us.
Puka.
So, see, we're not listen to us.
Mhm.
If the family's getting help, you can get help too. Week 7, we said go get Devin Singletary because he's taking over that backfield from Dameon Pierce. He finished very well. Donta Foreman had some really good games for the Bears. So, I feel like running backs. I've looked at all of them. I've looked at the running backs, the quarterbacks, the wide receivers, and the tight ends that we made calls on. Running backs was probably our weak spot technically, but we still made some decent calls. Should we talk about the scotch?
I am ready to talk about this
Okay.
scotch. Why don't you pour us our samples to try this?
Yes.
You made our old fashions. What have
I
you
did.
thought about having this in the old fashioned?
Well, it's definitely very different.
It's
It's different than having a
it is
bourbon or
different,
rye,
but
obviously.
it's good.
It is good. You're
It leaves. Is your mouth a little dry?
yeah, it is
Yes.
actually.
Okay.
Your uncle Paul,
Mm-hmm.
apparently always orders his old fashions with scotch. He didn't think about it. He just knew he liked an old fashioned with Johnny Walker.
Okay.
And he didn't think about the fact that, oh, wait, that's a scotch that I'm putting in an old fashioned. But he even said, like in Jamaica, he kept telling him, I want Johnny Walker in it. And like the first couple times he kind of got a look or whatever. But that's how he always, if he requests, he requests Johnny Walker.
There's no wrong way to
No.
drink whiskey.
No, there's not.
And you drink it how you like it. You drink your cocktails how you like them. There's no wrong way. Just enjoy it.
Yeah.
So,
go ahead. I'll let you take the lead here.
yes. So just recap from earlier. We are drinking. Well, you don't have the thing on it.
Yeah, I was getting
Why don't you show the bottle? We're drinking Tomatin Highland single malt Scotch whiskey.
It's the one on the left right there.
Yes.
That
It is
12-year.
a 12-year matured, not aged, matured in a combination of oak, which is a requirement for Scotch, ex-bourbon, and ex-sherry casks, which is why we thought it was a great first-time Scotch for us, because you left the recommendations at home.
Sorry, Karen.
It is
Karen had to take off too, so hopefully she's
Yes.
able to make it back.
and this is an 86 proof.
Yeah.
I hope she comes back and hears all about it, because I'm going to school you guys on Scotch and the different regions and everything. We're going to get a geography lesson in here.
There you go.
But to be a Scotch, it has to be distilled and matured.
Karen is here. Just
Oh, yay!
update.
To be a Scotch, it has to be distilled and matured in Scottish or Scotland oak casks. Stop it.
Sorry.
For at least 3 years and bottled at a minimum strength of 40% alcohol. It must be made from malted barley, water, and yeast. Now they can add in additional grains, but it has to have that and be in Scotland to be a Scotch. And I had the misconception too. Like, a lot of people think about peat, like a peaty flavor when you think of
Yeah.
Scotch, but actually only 2 of the 5 whiskey regions in Scotland use peat. And they burn peat during the malting process of whiskey making. So really,
there's another show on YouTube, Drinks and Chill.
Mhm.
We check in with them every now and then. They're actually, we're gonna do a little bit of a crossover sometime just for
Mhm.
fun, because they like football as well. But I was talking to them a little bit about Scotch too, and they said like it's a big difference on if you get peat or a no peat type of Scotch. Big
Mhm.
difference in flavor. So, anyways,
yeah. And then one thing I kept reading, like, it's whiskey without the E. And it bothers me
Yes.
when I see that, because I always think of whiskey with EY. But whiskey, so WHISKY, is a
'Cause
Gaelic
I got it. Oh no.
is a Gaelic word meaning water of life. Do you know that?
I did not know that, but I like it.
Yes.
I'm never spelling whiskey with an E anymore. Oh man, I'm so dehydrated. I just need some water of life, and nobody will really know what I'm saying. So I do like that.
So just to start kind of going into the distillery background and history here, the Tomatin is, I'm hoping I'm saying that, Tomatin, it's a long A. So Tomatin is located in Tomatin, which is a small village on the river Fintorn in the Scottish Highlands. And Tomatin is derived, well, I guess it's a Gaelic word that means hills of the juniper bush.
Now Gaelic is Irish though, isn't it?
There's Scottish Gaelic too.
Oh, okay. I did not know that.
Yes. So, and before I keep going into the background,
Tomatin.
Okay.
Yes.
Before I keep going into the, background of history of the distillery, I need to give everybody a brief geography lesson because this is made in the Highlands, and I was reading about, like different characteristics of Scotch based on the geography. And so I kind of did a little deep dive there.
Would you like me to cue the map?
In a minute.
Okay.
Here.
You give me
So
cue.
the Highlands is one of 5 defined whiskey regions in Scotland that were officially defined by Scottish whiskey regulations in 2009. But the notion of dividing whiskey production by geographical region can be traced back to 18th century Scotch laws, I guess, which it dictated how distilleries were taxed, how much whiskey they could produce, the size of the stills they could use, how quickly they could produce the whiskey, or how slow they had to distill their whiskey.
Interesting.
Yes. But it eventually, this different geographical locations led to the character of Scotch being defined by the geographical location. So now you can cue the map, Justin.
Cue the map.
So this Tomatin is from the Highlands, which is the largest region encompassing almost all of Scotland north of Edinburgh. I can't say words. And Glasgow. So that on the map, it's the green region that we're showing. And whiskey there is characterized as more rounded and robust. We'll get back to that in a little bit.
I've been described that way.
Oh my goodness. And then we have Speyside, which is on this map, it's the orange region. It's the area around the River Spey in the northeast of the country. And I guess technically this is a sub-region of the Highlands, but was given its own specific region because there's a very high density of distilleries here. And their Scotch is characterized as elegant and fruity.
I have not been described like that.
Elegant and fruity.
Yeah.
All these different regions, because we know nothing about Scotch. We should have done some research before. We went on the recommendations by Karen that you left at home. I'm not going to let you live that down because we get there and we're looking. We don't know what we're going to get.
There was a Glen something, and there are so many different Scotches that start with Glen.
Yes. So anyway, knowing kind of, you can't just go by this because obviously all these regions can make different kinds of Scotch that have different flavor profiles and everything and can be crafty. But this would have been nice to know for regions that they're coming out of. Oh, this would be a more elegant and fruity maybe. And then we have the Lowlands, which is the blue region on the map. It's the majority of Scotland south of the Highlands. The Scotch coming out of this region is generally light and soft. And we have Campbelltown in the south, and that is the gray area on the map. And it's one of the most historic whiskey making regions of Scotland, but there are very few distilleries there. And the Scotch coming out of this region, this is very off-putting to me, but is heavy and oily. So maybe it's more of a thicker texture.
Yeah, you might like it.
Maybe I would, but when you describe something as heavy and oily, I just don't really know that I really want to.
Juke telling you what I said as well. It is Tomatin.
Tomatin.
just to help. Yes.
Thank you.
Which is what
I
I said.
appreciate
you too.
it.
And she didn't listen to me. As you
I
saw.
did change. Last time I said Tomatin. Anyway. Okay. And then we have Islay. I don't know. Maybe somebody can tell me how to pronounce this, but it's a small island off the west coast of Scotland, where some of Scotland's most iconic distilleries are located. And the scotch coming from this region is generally characterized as being more smoky, which I meant to say when we were talking about peat earlier. When they burn the peat, when they're in the malting process, that is what gives the scotch its characteristic smoky
and that's
essence,
yeah.
I guess.
And that's what I want to try, one that's more smoky because I like the smoke. Just so you know, Karen does disagree a little bit with your map. The Highlands doesn't stretch that high.
I
know
this
I know
comes
you
from
did not.
No, did you not put the
I did not.
You didn't. I've even put the link to credit the map. This comes
I don't
from
credit nobody.
like scotch something whiskey.org from it's a Scotland website. So I apologize.
Scotch-whiskey.org.
There you go.
It is their fault.
It's their fault. So if those regions aren't accurate, I don't take credit. I am borrowing it from the website just cited. So anyway, there you have it. 5 different regions that makes geographical regions that
Next time,
make
let's get a
scotch.
smoky peaty one. I want to try that.
Okay,
So
that's fine.
Just for the future.
So Tomatin from the Highlands, we just went through like they're more like the characteristics of the scotch from there is more rounded and robust.
Mm-hmm.
They put on all their bottles the softer side of the Highlands.
Yeah.
They're softer. They don't really go with that rounded and robust characteristics of scotch coming from their region. So the softer side of the Highlands.
I want to know what you get from the smell before
Did you
I
pour
taste
it?
it too many times.
It's very light colored.
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
much
kind of
lighter
like
than like a bourbon or whatever.
Maybe not as light as an Irish whiskey, but it's light.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to
still
get back
didn't
to the
smell it, but that's
distillery. So Tomatin is a small village known for its whiskey distillery. The first formal distillery was established in 1897. And you can go, I'm not going to go give you the big rundown of everything. You can go to their website. It's tomatin.com. What?
Are you just guessing?
No.
Okay. It sounded like a guess.
I'm trying to remember, but I'm not guessing. But it's just tomatin.com. And there's a whole history and timeline by the year of the different things happening with their whiskey and their distillery. But one of the things like I wanted to highlight that I really liked learning about them is they're a very green, environmentally friendly or environmentally conscious distillery.
Nice.
And in 2013, they became the first distillery in Scotland to install an eco-friendly wood pellet fueled steam boiler for production. And the pellets used in the boiler are produced only 35 miles from the distillery.
Nice.
And they actually they plant 2 trees for every tree they use to make the pellets. And the wood chip created from the production of the pellets generates electricity at the production site. So they're completely self-sufficient and carbon neutral. So I just thought that was really cool. And then the distillery uses the byproducts of their mashing process. It usually goes into feed for cattle and stuff, but they send it to a biogas plant to generate green sustainable fuel.
Yeah.
So they're really big on that at the distillery.
I do have this neat photo that I found.
Yes.
I threw up there.
That's really cool.
Looks gorgeous.
Mhm.
Want to go there, put it on the bucket list. Anyways.
Yeah, so you can get a lot more of the history and background about the distillery itself if you go to their website.
I want to talk about their products while you taste and
Okay,
smell
why
and
don't you
stuff,
do that?
because I'm trying to build it in my head, but I need you to do the same. So I got some other products on the screen there, but Crown Best Whiskey in the World, the Tomatin 36-year-old single malt has once again been awarded Best in Show at the San Francisco World Spirits Competition. It's the oldest expression in their multi-award-winning core range. The 36-year-old is recognized for its character and complexity, and it's been praised for dedication to the craft and superior skills in the cask maturation. Their core group is the 12-year, which is what we're doing, the Legacy 14-year, cask strength 18-year, and the Dulcis American Oak. They do have some limited releases, which are kind of those same things, but different finishes and aging, including I saw a Tawny Port. And then they have the Prestige, which is a 30-year age, 36 and 50-year. I'm going to assume that 50-year is quite pricey because we know you lose some to the Angels share, and then they have some distillery exclusives as well. But like we said, we're drinking the Tomatin Highland single malt Scotch whiskey that's 12-year matured in combination of oak, ex bourbon, and ex sherry.
Mhm.
Is that right? Okay.
Yep. So
what do you get on the nose?
something earthy,
I was gonna say like trees, but
like juniper. Like this sounds like no.
doesn't smell like gin.
No, I was gonna say juniper, like pine.
Oh, so pine.
Isn't a
is gin.
juniper a type of spruce tree?
Uh,
I know juniper is gin, but juniper, okay. There's a lot of juniper in the
I do
area
get, like,
of this distillery.
the cedar/pine.
Cedar, something earthy
Yeah,
tree.
I get that.
An earthy tree, a tree. I
An
smell a
earthy
tree. But there's also fruit in there, like a caramely fruit.
Yeah, and I get fruit.
You get
not
caramel
caramely, but-
apple.
Well, see, when we first opened this, I said it reminds me a lot of the Copeland Merchant's Quay Irish whiskey that we have, which our biggest takeaway from that was caramel apple type apple, green apple, stuff like that.
Caramel apple with a hint of pine, with a hint of tree.
See, I don't get the caramel. I do get apple.
I
for
get
sure.
caramel.
Yeah, and then on the taste, Scotch is so much different than bourbon and rye. But I like this.
It's very.
A lot of scotches I've tried, I've went like, nope.
No, I think we picked a good one to start to like dip our toes in the water because it's like, oh, it finished in bourbon and sherry casks. This
And
is our style.
I even get when I smell, like, especially if I move a little bit, I don't know if that's a thing, but I smell a little bit of bourbon, just a tiny, tiny hint of the same kind of smell or on the nose that you get with bourbon. I don't get much taste with the bourbon, maybe a little on the finish, but
you know what the smell almost reminds me of too? If you take out the tree and you take out the caramel apple, like a wheated bourbon.
Yeah, right.
That's kind of what I smell.
Yeah, that's
Wheated
Agreed.
bourbon, though.
Wheated.
Not regular wheated bourbon.
Wheated. By the way, look at these new cups that Miranda picked up.
They're actually
interesting.
mezcal cups.
Still waiting on that Visky sponsorship. But
I love Visky. Anyway.
Taste. Palate. Finish. What you getting?
A little bit earthy, a little bit of sweet. It you can taste this on different parts of your tongue, like very distinctly.
Yeah.
The beginning, it's more earthy. In the middle, it's a little sweet.
Yeah.
And I don't know. This is much better than I thought it was going to be for my first scotch.
I get like a pear.
Pear?
Fruit. Yeah. I get pear. Now that you're thinking it, you're going to get it as well. But I definitely get a little bit of a pear. Not overbearing.
Pear, apple or pear.
The finish, like when I breathe out, I feel like I'm breathing pear.
So this is good. I'm impressed with this as our first scotch.
Yes. Karen, we will try one of the ones that you suggested.
Karen, have you tried this one? Do you know this scotch?
And the ISLAY is Isla.
Well,
which we should have known from my parents.
Yeah. And just yes.
Isla,
whatever I said. Forgive me. I am just.
We got mashed tater brain again?
No. How dare you? But one thing on their site, like you can go check out their website, check out all the different scotches they have. They have a lot of just distillery only scotches. So go to Scotland, go to the distillery.
I would like to.
Tomington.com. And one thing I liked about when I went to their website on a computer, it's different on the phone.
Oh, really?
A little bit different, but there are just 3 main categories: our whiskey, our distillery, and one that says a toast. And throughout, like, when I was looking at their whiskey and their distillery, I kept like, they have a lot, like, I don't know if it's like their motto, but it's to what matters. It's like,
Can I read the
in there.
poem?
Yes, go ahead.
By the way, Karen says she's been drinking scotch since 1978, so she is definitely our scotch expert.
Yes.
We've been drinking it since
today.
2024. Now, I've tried some scotches before, but nothing of note. Like, it was more like, oh, I'm just trying this to try this. But yeah, Karen, have you tried this one, the Tomatin? And I want to just, you guys don't want to watch me read this, so let's get this nice, pretty scenery. There are things in life that really matter. Genuine gestures, belly-filling banter, a reassuring wink. It's not the material things, but the real salt of the earth, mementos that flood us with feeling, young or old, stranger or friend, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Let's toast to what matters. Jamie Dorn ain't got nothing on me. Isn't that guy's name?
Yes. If you ever need sleep music, not sleep music, but like a sleep noise, Jamie Dornan does, like, he talks you through a rainforest. Dornan.
Okay, Dornan.
He talks you through a rainforest. He talks to you like there's a beach one. Yeah, a rolling storm is in the distance. It drove you nuts when I would put it on. And partially because it is soothing and calming, but also partially because I got a kick out of it silently to myself of how much it disturbed you and bothered you that we would listen to Jamie Dornan when we went to bed. I think he has like 5 different whatever, and for 5 nights in a row you listen to Jamie Dornan. Yes. And I got a lot of pleasure out of it because of the fact
I'm sure you
had to listen. No, because of the fact that you had to listen to it.
All I can remember is the when he's like, there's a storm rolling in the distance. It's just like, okay, all right. Karen's been to several distilleries in Scotland. I am jealous.
Awesome.
I've never been to Scotland. I would love to go. We have been to Ireland. We want to make it back to Ireland sometime. But never been to Scotland.
When we go back to Ireland, we'll be more Northern Ireland. And so we had talked about getting on a ferry and going over to Scotland.
Popping over there. So yeah, we'll have to get that planned. And if we visit distilleries, it's part of the show. We got to do it for the audience. You know, we have to. She does not care for Highland typically. This one is okay.
Oh, so she has had this one?
This was a good dip in the Scotch waters for us because of the bourbon tie-in. Even though, I mean, the taste, you don't get a lot of bourbon. I do on the smell a little bit. But I agree with you, kind of the earthy and some fruitiness. That the finish for me is very Perry, which brings me up or reminds me of something.
Brings me up
to my next point. I feel like I've seen a lot of shows that review whiskey, and they usually do some sort of rating, not just, hey, this is good. And I want us to get into that. And I'm thinking we rate on a point system, like maybe just 1 through 5, 1 through 10, whatever, in different categories. So there's the nose, the smell, the taste, the finish, and how it goes in an old fashioned.
Okay.
We don't have to do this right now for this one, but I want us to start thinking about that. I think that would be good. And then at the end of the year, it'd be really interesting to look at, like, we'll keep track of them. What were our top 5? And then maybe blind taste our top 5 and rank them and see if we still rank them the same. I don't know. There's
not blind taste 12 like you wanted to do.
Right, exactly. There's a lot of fun we can have with that.
Yeah.
And I think it just gives some more to, like, okay, you think this is good, but how does it compare to, Woodford Reserve Double Oaked, or how's it compared to Merchant's Quay? Just things like that. I think that could help us out a lot. I'm looking forward to us creating that and starting that. I know you look like you're hesitant. You don't want to give anybody a bad rating. I get it. Glen Roth's is what we're supposed to check out. They're about $70.
Okay.
I think I do remember maybe seeing them.
I don't remember.
There were so many
There's
Glens.
a lot of Glens. We're like, this is overwhelming. There's Glens all over the place.
Yes.
What do we do?
What is happening? There are so many Glens. Do you have anything else to add? We're going to be back next week talking wide receivers and tight ends. But
I'm going to say this is the last week, 1 week left for our merch competition.
Yes.
To get into that drawing that we're going to do. at the end of the month.
Yeah.
A week from today.
Also, if you like fantasy football / betting and you want to help us out, you can check out our shorts. We can't mention the name of the place on here, but it rhymes with Plunder Hog or Wonder Hog, whatever. And we've got our promo code on that and all that stuff. So helps us out. We appreciate any help we can get. The merch store, of course, like you
Use
said,
promo code playoffs to get 15% off your order. Send us a screenshot. There's so many ways you can reach out to us on social media.
Yeah.
Send us that screenshot showing that you ordered Old Fashioned Football merch. You have to use the code playoffs. Well, who doesn't want to get 15% off, honestly? So use the code playoffs. Send us that screenshot. We'll throw your name into a drawing that we'll be doing in a week. You can win.
If we win the competition, you could get a bottle of Glen Ross, which is $70. You could get that, and we'll just ship it to you. Probably ship it from a Spirits even, but yeah.
There you go.
So, I mean, and you get a hat or a shirt or glass out of the deal. So why not? But yeah, every item you purchase gets you put in for the entry. We'll do the little prize wheel.
And it really helps us out.
Yeah, it does. And we'll do the little prize wheel that we did at the, that was our YouTube launch, I believe. We had a prize wheel going.
We'll throw in the prize wheel.
So we'll bring that back and one person will win. NASCAR Gambling says, great show, guys. Thanks. I'm assuming that's Cody. It could be Rod, though. Juke, thanks for sticking around. Cheers. Enjoy I believe you're drinking Beam.
Yeah.
Little Beam. Yeah.
Beam.
Enjoy the Beam. Man, I had a lot of days of drinking Jim Beam. Jack Daniels and Jim Beam were the go-to. And nowadays, if I'm going to pick one of those, it would be Jim Beam over Jack Daniels. But yeah, speaking of Jack Daniels, tomorrow, we won't be live, but we are releasing for the first time on video our interview with Victoria Edie Butler.
Okay, I was like, where are you going with this?
Of Uncle Nearest, and her great-great-grandfather, Nearest Green, who the distiller is named after, was the first technically the first distiller who invented the Lincoln County process that makes a Tennessee whiskey a Tennessee whiskey. He was the first one at Jack Daniels to do that. So and there's incredible history there. So check that out. We got Iowa Legendary Rye coming up. We got Rose City Distilling out of Portland, Oregon coming up. We got Balcones out of Texas coming up. We got Breckenridge out of Breckenridge, Colorado coming up. And we got Redwood Empire coming up. I feel like Juke is the one that maybe said to get Breckenridge. Juke, are you the one that said to check out Breckenridge? They are coming up on 2/21. We're interviewing their distiller, who is also a doctor and distiller, Brian. So that'll be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to talking with him. And I don't know, just that's a really interesting background. You're a doctor and a distiller.
It is. And to tie it into fantasy football or football, Breckenridge is the official whiskey of the Denver Broncos.
It is. Yeah, absolutely. So that'll be a fun one. That's on 2/21. But yeah, we got all those distillers coming up. Make sure you hit the subscribe, hit the like, all that good stuff. Miranda, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, you've done us well, Justin.
All right. My scotch is gone. My old fashioned is gone. It's all gone. Going once, going twice.
Sold.
Old Fashioned Football.